Hey guys, what's going on? It's 2 Minutes to Review. I'm Matt.
And I'm Zach.
And if you haven't joined us for one of these before, we're doing an album review. And inside this album review, the caveat is we have to be under 2 minutes. Whoever's closest to 2 minutes wins. Zach, what are we covering today?
So, fair warning, I feel like if 12-year-old Matt and Zach were to find out what we are doing right now, they'd be very disappointed in us.
Everybody,
Yeah.
plug your ears.
We are reviewing the new album from Backstreet Boys called DNA. That's right, it is 2019. So, first off, before we go into... So, Matt, ready to feel old?
I guess so.
I can't even pronounce it. Millennium. Wow, that was... As soon as I said it out loud, I realized it's actually not that hard of a word.
Millennium. I say it every day.
Yeah. Millennium, their big album, came out 20 years ago this year.
So it didn't come out on the millennium. It came out in 1999.
Yeah. Well, because, it makes sense. 1999, that's when the Y2K thing was all like the big hip thing. Everyone was like
We're all
talking
gonna
about
die.
it.
Will Smith did a nice pun on it too.
Yeah, he got jiggy with it.
Millennium.
But it's funny because like this, 20 years later, the Backstreet Boys, Backstreet's back, all right. This is their first number one album in many, many years. And it really, I kind of think that they're proof that 90s nostalgia is at an all-time high. I mean, you could argue, because I think my wife is a huge Backstreet Boys fan still. We're actually probably going to go see them in September. Yeah, I know, crazy. And it's just kind of high, like they're playing arenas again on their own. And it's just interesting that they're kind of back into the limelight after kind of many years of obscurity.
All right.
So
this
much
is going to go on the whole episode.
So much to Matt's chagrin, it was like we should review their new album DNA, which, as I mentioned, premiered at number one when it came out, and even spawned some hit singles, which again was a first for them in a long time. So Matt,
Zach,
since I made you review this album,
yep,
would you like me to go first?
Sure, you can go first.
All right, timer's ready.
The timer of Epic Footnote Proportions is ready.
Let me just get some yeahs in there. Yeah.
Do some synchronized boy band vocals.
You are... Show me the meaning. Anyway, we can't use any of that, huh? Because of copyrights.
No, we can.
Can we?
I'm sure that we're so off key that it doesn't matter.
That's true. No one's going to notice. All right.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. In short, it's all right. It's actually not bad. Listen, here's the thing. You have to expect a level of cheesiness when it comes to a Backstreet Boys album, especially in the year 2019. But there are moments on this album that the band actually really does excel at sounding a little bit more modern or relevant. That shouldn't be a huge surprise, considering that this album actually has a lot of co-writers on this album, including like big pop stars like Shawn Mendes and Andy Grammer. But the first two singles, Don't Go Breaking My Heart and Chances, really catchy, surprisingly. And there's even songs like Passionate, which you can definitely hear a Charlie Puth kind of inspired groove. It could definitely be a hit on Z100 in today's climate. So for a band who regained a lot of popularity really because of nostalgia, they came out of a relatively enjoyable modern pop album. And yeah, I realize that 12-year-old Zach, as I mentioned before, is probably going to be very disappointed in me looking back at this. But I was very surprised at how, while I don't necessarily think it's going to be an album I'm going to revisit often, for what it is, it was enjoyable.
So don't go playing games with my heart, Zach. What is your star rating?
Was that Backstreet Boys?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, you're right. So there you go.
I know my puns.
You were rehearsing your puns.
Yes.
I realized I also was probably so all over the place in that review because I'm like, I really can't believe I'm reviewing a Backstreet Boys album. That's part of, like, yeah, this is actually happening.
You chose this.
I did.
You chose this.
And I'm still shocked.
All right.
So, a rating.
Your rating.
3 stars.
Okay.
Because listen, I really don't think this is going to be revolutionizing pop music the way that Backstreet Boys did back in its heyday.
All right.
But at the same time, it wasn't as cringeworthy as I thought it was going to be. There was definitely some moments of cheesiness, but in the end, there was definitely some songs I'm like, you know what? This has its moments. So
Okay.
3 stars.
All right. Fair enough.
So Matt,
Zach.
I should also say this, before be honest, but remember, you're gonna be breaking my wife's heart. So stop playing games with my wife's heart.
I can't promise that I won't break her heart.
Her achy breaky heart, which is not that song.
No.
But whenever I say the title of the song, I always think of that song.
Okay.
But then I sing it and I'm like, breaking my heart, breaking my heart. I really did listen to this album. I'm shocked myself. Sorry, sidetracked. You ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
This is the pop music money train at its formulaic finest. The Backstreet Boys that you might think that you know are completely gone. There is no shred of anything Backstreet Boys related left. This is the rest of the record industry throwing things together to make the Backstreet Boys relevant again. They're being shoehorned into the rest of what's popular today. You could find elements of, like Zach said earlier, Charlie Puth, the Chainsmokers. It sounds like this is what was left on the cutting room floor. And oh, hey, older guys, you can come have what's left. So, you also, on this album, as you're listening to it, can hear that it's completely over-processed. Why not let their vocals kind of shine through like they did back when they were still relevant? I mean, yeah, they're getting older, but write songs that actually, fit the band to this point in time. Don't try to, get them to sound perfect. They're not going to be perfect. I happened to find another one of their albums that they had a live thing on. I was curious to what they sounded live. They don't sound anything like they used to. They're older. Their audience is older. Let that shine through because, as you get older in music, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I guess when you're trying to still appeal to the 12-year-old audience out there, I guess you still kind of need to, sound like everybody else. But getting back to the album, it's completely overprocessed. You can hear the compression. You can hear the auto-tune. And why would you use auto-tune on an a cappella song? That's where your vocals are supposed to shine through. This album is pop at its finest and awfulest at the same time.
But how do you really feel?
Yeah. Well, there you go. I told you it wasn't going to be pretty.
But you know what's funny? The way you sounded, it sounded as if like you were so pissed off that it wasn't original, like that you were actually a huge Backstreet Boys fan, and you're like, "What the hell is this?
Okay.
Why is it not?"
Because you had me listen to this thing, and I haven't legitimately listened to a Backstreet Boys song probably since I was about 15 and working my first job because they had it on in the store. But it's just everything about the pop industry that's completely wrong. Like I said, you're trying to shoehorn a band that's not supposed to sound like anybody else into everybody else. They should have known, like, they had the biggest rivalry they could have ever had back in the day with NSYNC. And guess what? Them and NSYNC, while they sounded the same, they had miles apart differences. Why not put them still let them sound miles apart from everybody else? It's the name that's going to carry them at this point.
So, I feel like I know your answer already, but what's your star rating?
1.5.
1.5. So the recap, Matt, pop money train at its finest. Zach, it's all right.
Yeah. I went way more technical than you.
I was like, it's fine. It's fine.
Right, but I mean, you made me listen to it.
No, I know. I did.
And one of the things, let's bring our audience back into this. One of the things that I noticed about this, and my mind immediately went there as soon as I heard this album. even Metallica's Death Magnetic wasn't as overprocessed as this. Like, I'm a big nerd when it comes to music and like recordings and things like that. So when you look at the waveform for Death Magnetic, that thing looks like a gigantic square. To anybody else who doesn't know, that's a bad thing because that means you lose all sense of dynamics.
I like the album.
What, Death Magnetic?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I do too. I'm not saying anything bad against it, but when you get into like how this thing is processed, and I remember all of the interviews with the audio producers saying that they got the waveform and the waveform was already crushed when they got it, and they were told to, you know, do what they got to do, and then they had to crush it again to make it sound a particular way. Yeah, it might have sounded a little overmodulated at times, but it didn't sound like you could actually hear the compression. Like on their voices, I can legitimately hear the attack and the release of their vocals on this thing, and it's like, that's not good, especially for a vocal driven band. And then, like I said, the auto-tune on their voice when they're doing an a cappella song when you're clearly trying to compete with the Pentatonics. Why?
I didn't mind that song either.
But auto-tune on an a cappella song, no. And then they, like, I remember girls going bananas back in the days. They always had their favorite Backstreet Boy, and, you know, used to get all like up in arms when they heard them on an album. Where is that now? Because they're so crushed and compressed together. It's like you can't pick one person from another.
So I do kind of want to seriously debate that one part for a second. I actually think some of the vocal performances on certain songs are actually pretty good. Like, I actually think AJ, especially on the song.
You can tell which one AJ is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
I have no argument as to why I shouldn't. I'm not going to defend that. I do. But, like, for instance, I'm really showing how bad I am right now. But he usually, from my understanding, comes in during the second verse. So, like, it usually starts off with, like, Nick Carter doing the, you know, calm understanding, like, oh, I feel you, girl. And then AJ coming in with a little bit more sass. At least I could be very off on that too, but that's kind of how I always have seen, like, the bigger songs that they've done. That's kind of the pattern they go in. Mm-hmm. So songs like Chance and Passionate, I actually feel like AJ does shine really well. And I was actually, especially on the song Chances, which I actually think is a really nice kind of like more ballady kind of song with some modern elements to it too. I actually was really surprised at how strong of a performance he delivered on that song. Again, words I never thought I would utter into public, let alone into a microphone right now. But that's just my 2 cents. But I agreed. There's definitely a little overproduction on most of the songs, but I actually think they deserve a little bit more applause for certain moments on the album. But you know what? None of that matters.
The time matters.
It's the time.
So now we actually get back to what this podcast is really about. Who won?
You mean it's not about two grown men talking about Backstreet Boys in 2019?
I'm going to find myself knowing the meaning of being lonely when my wife hears this.
I actually like that song too. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Do you remember the video for it? Anyway. All right, Matt, what was my time?
All right, drum roll, please.
Hold on. I got to get the Epic Footnote drum machine going.
Your time, 1 minute, 29:14.
Wow, 1 minute, 29:14. Matt, would you like to know your score?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it really matter?
I mean, we're both kind of losers in this regards.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
all right, let's find out.
Can you hook up the Epic Footnote drum machine, copyrighted by Epic Footnote?
It's already ready to go.
All right.
All right, and
your time. Sorry, the dramatic pause. 1 minute, 46 seconds, and 26, whatever that is.
I am the biggest winner of the losers in this review. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody, tell us your thoughts about the new Backstreet Boys album, or just the fact that you had heard two grown men talking about a Backstreet Boys album.
I hope we rocked your body.
Ew. Let us know what you thought on our social media channels. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Epic Footnote. We actually do want to hear your thoughts on that. And yes, we are okay. So you don't have to bother asking us, hey, is everything okay, guys? What happened there? But we would love to hear your thoughts on this, as well as just like an overall discussion about just 90s nostalgia too. I mean, we did an in-depth, if you had to pick 3 episode about just 90s music videos, and we're probably going to be doing some more 90s content moving forward.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. Let us know what you think about that. Is it, Backstreet Boys trying too hard to be modern again, or is it just them cashing in on the 90s aspect? Let us know.
All right. That's going to do it for us.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and hopefully you tune in next time.
All right. Take it easy, guys.